Okay, we've been covering the fees must fall protest blow by blow, and some new developments today. The Council of Wits University has asked the President to address the ongoing crisis in the higher education sector. In a statement, the highest governing body of the university says it calls on the President to establish a gathering that will explore funding options for higher education and ensure that timeframes are set. It's also raised deep concern about what it calls the chronic underfunding of the higher education sector over the last 2 decades. Wits says that requires the immediate attention of those at the highest levels of government. Well, Cas Coovadia is the MD of the Banking Council of South Africa, also a member of the Wits Council, and he joins us now. Thank you for coming into studio, Cas. Before we get to the funding issue, there's a lot going on. The Minister of Higher Education has been meeting with business people. The President has set up a ministerial task team, but this sounds like you're calling for better leadership.
Yeah, I think we are. I think what we are saying is that, almost 9 universities were close to closing. Number of universities have not completed the 2016 academic program. That's a national crisis. In a country where we need skilled people, particularly skilled young people coming out of universities, to work in a complicated and increasingly complex economy, we need to ensure that our universities work well. So this is a national issue. We recognize the work the Minister Ntimande has done. We've made submissions to the Commission looking at fees. We recognize the committee, and we're glad that the Minister of Finance is now on the Interministerial Committee. But the Interministerial Committee deals with the issues now, okay? Minister Ntimande has also been intervening to deal with the issues now. What we need is a sustainable process and solution to this issue. And we believe that for a national issue like this, where our universities are in crisis, the President has to take the lead in pulling together the resources, the capacity, and the stakeholders to actually try and find a sustainable solution. Now, what we're saying is that we need to get student leadership, we need to get university leadership, we need to get government, other stakeholders around the table to talk about this, to look at what trade-offs need to be made, what compromises need to be made, and to put national interest topmost on the agenda and see what sort of solutions we find.
If you get another gathering together, won't you get a whole lot of new ideas? Sizwe Ngasana was here last week on the show saying that business has given the minister a feasible plan to get to free education by 2018 already. So aren't there ideas there, and maybe we just need decisions?
Yeah, they are ideal. I mean, with my banking association hat, we've been working very closely with Sizwe on this. So we've provided a lot of capacity, and we've backed him up on this. And I think it's a good plan. The plan is going to go to Cabinet, and we hope that Cabinet will accept the plan. But having said that, we need to find a mechanism so that we're not talking past each other, okay? So students, the current student leadership that's been leading this protest haven't yet pronounced on the plan itself. They're calling for free education now. There's a lot of, there's some parts of the leadership that's not prepared to actually listen to any processes. And I think it's those sort of medium to long-term issues that we need to address and that we need leadership on. If we don't get that compact going properly, we're not going to be able to make progress on the very good initiatives that are being introduced to actually address this. So there's still a gap between the model that's on the table now and call for free education, for instance. I'm certainly of the view that my daughter with that university should not be paid for by the state, okay? But we need to find balances between all of those imperatives, and we also need to look at this within the context of the other socioeconomic priorities we have in this country, limited resources. And so given that complexity of that problem, given the complexity of the issues, we believe that we need leadership from the top, because this is going to be interministerial stuff, trade-offs are going to have to be made and so on. And so leadership from the top, we believe, will be a very very important initiative to actually unlock some of these issues.
Are you disappointed government, maybe if there are these ideas, hasn't put forward a timeline sort of heading towards free education? I was expecting something like that, because Wits was saying, you know, you've gotten through this year, but presumably this will be ongoing at the start of next year.
Absolutely, and that's the issue. That's the issue. We've got to find a longer-term solution to this. And so I think that, you know, that's one of the points we're making, that initially the Commission was only going to report back in August or September next year. They brought that forward to February. That shows that at least there's now a realization that this is a crisis and we need solutions and we need processes to actually come forward. And that's our point, that we need to recognize that this is a crisis. We can't have a business as usual approach. We can't say, well, there's a commission, it will report at a point in time and so on. We need a process that we all buy into. We might recognize it's a longish process, but with clear time frames for this process, with clear deliverables during that time frame, so that we can all track that as progress.
Okay, we're running out of time, but will you explain the chronic underfunding? Because the finance minister was putting things in context this week, that post-school education is one of the fastest growing portions of the budget. Yeah. But I think he did admit not a lot going to universities. He did say the subsidies will grow by nearly 11% for universities every year, which sounds great, but you're saying finer detail, it's not good.
And what we're concerned about is that there seems to be an indication that we're going to actually underfund research-based universities. Okay, and if that happens, that's a problem, because we want to turn out students from universities who can work not only in South Africa, but could work anywhere in the world. Okay, for that we need universities that are globally recognized. For globally recognized universities, we need to put money and resources into cutting-edge research. We have the expertise, we have the intelligence, we have the sorts of people in this country who could get involved in cutting-edge research. We need the resources to back that up. And so we recognize that there are, and that's why I say there are other priorities, trade-offs need to be made, and those are the sorts of discussions we should be having. And those are the sorts of discussions that need to be led by the President.
All right, thank you for your time this evening. Cas Coovadia, a member of the Wits Council, today calling on the President to address the ongoing crisis in what it calls the ongoing crisis in the higher education sector.